Monday, everybody, and welcome back to the Couchside Judges. I'm Scott Fontana. Follow me on Twitter at Scott_Fontana.
And I'm Dan Urban. Follow me at the Dan Urban. Follow the podcast at Couchside Judges, and subscribe to us on YouTube and everywhere else that you listen.
Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever. Make sure you subscribe.
And as always, we talk judging in MMA, so make sure you brush up on the scoring criteria. Or actually read it, instead of pretend like you actually know it.
That's right. Don't forget, it's not just damage is king. All right, guys? Effective striking and grappling.
Damage, damage, damage.
Well, that's just words. Now you're just saying words.
Damage.
Damage.
Control.
Control. Top control.
Top control.
You know, because I had a thought, because when they were talking about the statistics, as they often do on the broadcast, right? And they're always talking about control and everything. The UFC stats website needs to define what constitutes control, significant strikes, and all that stuff, and make it clearly available and accessible to any and every person, because there's no glossary of terms that just explains these kind of things for people. What is top? What is control? Is it when you sit in someone's guard but you're on top? Is it when you're clinching them against the cage? What is the UFC counting as control? And that has nothing to do with scoring and judging and that kind of thing. I'm just talking about, you know, kind of the idiosyncrasies of their statistical measures.
Oh, we know what they count as control, though.
Everything?
We do.
Everything?
Control is anyone who's on top.
Yes, that is true.
That's what they count as control.
But it's
they could be stuck in a triangle. Control, we're on top.
I still want to see, and I was talking about this too, I want to see them, if they're going to measure stuff like that, measure time in dominant positions, right?
That would make more sense.
Or even, you can even break it up as like time, you know, with the body triangle, time on the back, time in mount, you know, maybe number of punches landed from mount or something, you know, track these type of things. I think that would be more interesting statistics that could be telling about a fighter.
That would be a lot better. A lot more useful, too.
I think so. A lot more useful. Yeah, it's just broad control, which is different than the control that's in the scoring criteria.
Yeah, and whoever was in charge of the commercial controller, take a break.
Which one?
The commercials. Whoever was in charge of press and play for commercials, go for a walk. We didn't need that many commercials.
Never.
For a service we pay for.
That's true.
It's a streaming service we pay for, and there was an exuberant amount of commercials. I don't even think we got to see a Jim Miller walkout because of the commercials.
I had a debate in my head whether I should call you out for using the word exuberant wrong, and I just did.
Exuberant means a lot.
No.
Well, I tried to be like Scott and use a big word. I didn't.
You did? No, you used the big word.
I didn't use it right, apparently.
Yeah.
What's exuberant mean, then?
Exuberant means like you're excited.
Yeah, they were very excited about putting on a lot of commercials.
That's fair.
They couldn't get enough of it. They press play, commercial, play, commercial. Nobody cares about the 30 for 30 on Gladiators.
I mean, I'm mildly interested. I'm not going to watch it, but like...
No, it's horrible. It just sounds horrible.
Did you care about American Gladiators as a kid?
I'd catch it here and there.
Yeah, I mean, same. You know,
big deal.
We used to play on the playground. There would be like balance beams you'd stand on, and we would grab sticks and be the American Gladiators.
You do the jousts.
Yeah, that was fun. But that's basically the extent of it. I don't remember anyone's name. There was probably someone called Turbo.
Oh, for sure, there was someone Turbo.
Someone had to be Turbo.
Yeah.
But we got a turbo boost back into the actual judging conversation here, because this is an episode that I think a lot of people are going to want to listen to, because it involves one of the bigger judging, kerfuffles, I guess, of the year, right? Everybody started to have an opinion
about
kerfuffles. I'm probably using that word wrong, to be fair, too.
Sounds like a made-up word.
It does sound like a kerfuffle. It sounds like a made-up word. I'll give you the quick definition for you very quickly. Kerfuffle is a commotion or a fuss, so I did use it correctly. Especially one caused by conflicting views.
Okay, yeah.
I used that about as accurately as I could.
Who would have thought we'd be talking about a flyweight fight on a judging show?
Well, especially in a main event, because that doesn't happen very often, but... Here we are. We have it. And, so the way it went down, of course, for those who may be tuning in and just lived under a rock somehow, Amir Albazi picked up a split decision victory over Kai Kara-France, 48-47, both ways, two for Albazi, one for Kara-France, in a fight that, as late in the fight as round 5, play-by-play man Brendan Fitzgerald was saying, well, the Twitter scores are indicating that the judge, scores could be all over the place. And then we end up with a scenario where the scores are kind of all over the place and everyone seems confused
and angry for some reason.
And very angry. Now look, if anyone's going to be angry, Kai Kara-France should be angry because he lost. He didn't get the decision. You could be mad about that. That's okay. The people who care about him, Israel Adesanya, of course, called it out, in maybe some vulgar terms. That too. They're friends. They care about each other. You can be mad about that kind of thing. You can care for your friend. If I was, let down in a situation and things didn't go my way, I'm sure you'd have my back, my friend.
Honestly, I would call robbery till kingdom come.
Yeah.
I would go all in.
Yeah. Well, that's me. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You get it from that. Everyone else, though,
even if he got finished, it's called a robbery.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
They should have known better than to touch me.
Mm-hmm.
Leave me alone and let me hate you. but in all seriousness, not everyone went nuts. I don't think this was as bad as some other ones. To be fair, you saw a lot of reasonable people saying, listen, just because it's a close fight doesn't mean it is a robbery.
Yeah.
We did have a lot of people who felt the opposite of that. I saw a bunch of people calling this robbery, saying this was crazy and that kind of thing. And honestly, look, I'll be upfront here. I had the fight 49-46 for Kai Kara-France. I gave him 4 out of 5 rounds. Amir Albazi winning is not a problem to me. It's just not.
Not an issue.
I'm going to start right there. We'll get into the details of it, why. But one of the interesting things about this fight in particular, and another fight on this card actually, is that they both qualify for the unofficial title that I've given fights of this nature as the alternative decisions. Which
yes.
I've been using this term for a couple years on our show here. And for those who don't know, an alternative decision is when you have a fighter who won the majority of rounds. So in this case, this particular fight we're talking about, Albazi Kara-France, somebody won 3 rounds, except they lost the decision. The reason being, one fighter, the winning fighter in this case, won 2 rounds unanimously, but 2 other rounds, Amir Albazi lost 2 out of 3 cards. So he did get a card in each of those instances, but just not the majority of them in certain rounds. So we do have 2 split rounds to talk about. Kai Kara-France won, of course, round 5. That was the round that of any of these, I don't think anybody was going to argue with that one. Round 3, of course, also went to Albazi too. And round 2, that was one that I thought went for Kara-France, so that was one I had separate and opposite of the judges here. But nonetheless, I can kind of see where that would happen. I could see how it could go either way. It's a close round. So I'm not too up in arms about it, but I was curious what you thought.
Yeah, I did. I thought Albazi did, and I thought he landed harder in that round. It's a very close round. The problem is Albazi doesn't come alive until like the last minute 30. So you can go either way. Really.
So what you would say is probably Kara-France has built up enough of a lead. How much is he going to overcome it? How much does Albazi make up the ground?
Yeah.
It's not a big round. There's not a whole lot happening one way or the other. So it's almost one of those tough things, right? That's not what we're really going to be talking about, though. No one's kind of discussing that. We're really talking about, especially round 4 from this fight, is the one that everyone kind of latched onto as the thing that they're very mad about, right? That super mad thing. Well, we'll talk about round 1 as well of this fight, because we do talk about, of course, the contested rounds from this event, all the rounds that the judges disagreed upon. You want to just dive into round 1? Let's get to round 1.
Yeah,
we should do that. The judges for this fight, by the way, were Sal D'Amato, Chris Lee, and Mike Bell. So, why don't we start with round 1? What's going on here?
Yeah, much of a feeling out process early. They exchange a few punches, a couple leg kicks each. I think Albazi has the edge early, and then Kara-France starts landing a bit more upstairs. It's really close, and Albazi's moving. Kara-France, when he does land, he's getting moved off his center line, getting shoved around a bit, which Dean Thomas does talk briefly about how that could look good to judges. Nothing's really landing that clean from Albazi. Kara-France pulled slightly ahead for me, and then at the end, while Albazi is doing his best Roy Jones Jr. impression with his hands behind his back, he eats a solid straight right down the pipe.
One of the best punches of the round.
Yeah, that really helped put it over for me to say, this is Kara-France 10-9.
Yeah, it's almost remarkable that a punch like that can land and he'll still actually get the round score, because that's super disrespectful. Not that that's the type of thing that judges should be knocking. But you just kind of look at it, and as an observer of combat sports, you're like, man, this guy's gonna do that and get this round. Well, a close round.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't think of it in that terms. I think of it in more the terms like, wow, that was dumb.
No, it was dumb. And again, you wouldn't necessarily say, well, that has to count more against him because he didn't play defense. It's really about the effect. We're only scoring effect of these punches.
You ate a shot completely. You didn't have to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, for goodness sake, if he doesn't eat that punch, it might be almost easier to go for Albazi here.
Yeah, that one's like, okay, I feel good about Cara France now.
Yeah, I mean, it was. This is not the round to go crazy about. To be fair, I'm not saying that you can't
round.
score for Albazi. As was the case from Judge Saldamato, he gave this round to Albazi. It was judges Chris Lee and Mike Bell who scored this for Cara France. Did you have it for Cara France?
Yeah,
I did too.
Yeah.
Like I said, I gave 4 out of 5 rounds, so there won't be any surprises in how I see these 2 rounds here. But the thing that kind of stuck with me about this round right after we were watching, like immediate reaction, was there's just not a whole lot of big things happening in this round. It's just, it's a little bit of a low, not necessarily low output, but low land. You know, like there's people were moving. Well, actually, you know what?
Low impact.
It is actually very low output for about 1:15.
Yeah.
There's almost nothing happening. Yeah, it's just like you said. This is not the type of round that people at home should get crazy about the judges for. This is the type of round where you should be sitting at home and saying, why can't the fighters try and get it going? Now, listen, I get it. I'm not a fighter. You know, I hate to cast stones like that, but at the same time, we've seen fighters get out there and get after it. And if you can put stamps on these rounds, it's a lot better for you.
Yeah.
If you take too long to get it going, all I'm saying is it's hard to go crazy on the judges for that. You made a choice. They're evaluating you based on the choices you made and the results of your action.
I was going to get into that in the next round.
Especially the results.
But since we're on it now,
yeah.
I mean, at some point, Cara France or Albazi could have done something to separate themselves.
In this round in particular, I think absolutely.
And in round 4, they didn't. And this is what we get.
I have stronger thoughts the other way on round 4, but let's just make sure we finish up round 1 before we get to that point, right? Do you have anything else that you kind of are thinking about this round? Because I'm not seeing people go crazy about. I don't think people are that mad about this one.
No.
It did end up being the case where Saldamato did have this round or to have the fight scored in favor of Amir Albazi, right? Because he gave rounds 1, 2, and 3. And, you know, everybody sees Saldamato puts his name on anything, and they're just like up in arms because it's Saldamato, because that's all they hear, right? But I don't think this is a bad score. I don't think so at all. And I think anyone who's naming him is being extremely unfair in this case.
Yeah, I would agree.
So. Yeah, that was really the only thing I wanted to take away from this round before we moved on. Do you have anything else?
No.
Yeah, let's go to 4. What's going on in round 4? This is the one that's going people win a little more nuts over.
It's a pretty stupid round to be upset about.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cara France hardly throws anything with power that lands. It's mostly jabs that land, a couple leg kicks. I don't think the significant strike numbers are accurate, considering most of what he's throwing is jabs, and I do think he's missing a lot of them. Albazi did land a couple decent shots, but he's not throwing a lot of them at all. I just can't get behind someone claiming robbery because of this round. I think Cara France is the better score, but like you mentioned previously, he did not put a stamp on this round by any stretch of the imagination. And like I said, at some point, these two could have done something to separate themselves. Now, I'm not going to say that you can't win a fight with a jab. BJ Penn versus Sean Shirk, great example of a fighter using a jab effectively, heavily impactful.
George St. Pierre, Josh Koscheck,
and that's another one. Yeah, Josh Koscheck had nerve damage from his eye from a jab.
Yeah.
For 5 rounds.
Yeah, it was a repeated jab, to be fair.
But that's not what's happening here.
No.
Cara France isn't putting anything else behind. He's throwing some heavy shots. He's hitting a lot of air with those heavy shots. The ones that are landing are just the jab over and over and over, which he does win the round because of this, I think. But also, you can't get that upset when it goes the other way because the other guy may have landed something or a few more things with a bit more impact.
The big thing that people seem to be latching onto with this is when they heard the numbers, that's when they were like, how can this be, right? Everyone's latching onto the numbers, the stats, the scoring, how we, the total strikes and the significant strikes here, right? To go back to round 1, actually, just to bring it up real quick, the significant strikes, which, of course, would imply that there are non-significant strikes or insignificant strikes as well. But the significant strikes, it was 13-6 landed in favor of KKF, and it was 20-12 total strikes. So there's a bit of a margin here. I don't watch that round and say, well, Kai Kara-France landed significantly more strikes than he did. It didn't. You don't come away from that round saying that to yourself. I don't. Anyway.
That was not what the graphic showed.
What do you mean the
right?
graphic?
The graphic on screen during the fight.
Yeah, but that one's always that's a rough
I know,
one anyway.
but that's what they see.
Sure.
I think that's the one that they react to.
Yeah, but in particular, round 4 is the one that people are going nuts over because we have 27 significant strikes landed compared to 5 for Albazi, or 29 and 7 in the total strike department, right? So not too much more. Each one of them landed 2 more. Kara-France also was credited with a takedown. You know, people love takedowns, or sometimes they don't anymore.
Kind of got him down.
People are very
for a little
confused.
bit,
yeah, but what did that? What happened?
Yeah,
from
nothing
it?
happened with
That's
it.
what
Yeah,
That's what we're trying to talk about.
Yeah.
As we know, look, you can land a takedown. That's fine. It is a statistic you have now, and it's not something that didn't happen. You can't ignore it completely. But the problem is evaluating how much effect you got from it. You know, if it's just a takedown and nothing is yielded from it, it was really just a change in position. If it was landed with a little more impact, yeah, you kind of weigh that in there, right? But this particular takedown, I don't think does a whole lot necessarily for Kai Kara-France. I think it's just something that happened and they moved on. It didn't diminish. Do you think this takedown diminished Amir Albazi?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
27 landed strikes. Do you think 27 significant strikes landed of any impact?
I don't think we have a round here where Kai Kara-France is just piecing up Amir Albazi, right? The numbers would imply that, but then you go and you actually sit and you really watch the fight, and the round in particular, round 4. And I don't think you come away from this round saying, oh, what a total shutout by Kai Kara-France. I just don't see that.
That's not the round we watched.
I think this is a round for Kai Kara-France, and it's a round that I would even say I feel pretty good about scoring for Kara-France. But I also can see it going there.
Yeah, I agree. I think Kara-France is the better scorer. But also, like you said, this is not a shutout. It's not. He didn't blow him out of the water. He's landing jabs that aren't that strong. Like, that's it.
What people ought to do is just count it yourself. Like, see if you can count it. The same, you know, there's obviously technology involved that people are trying to evaluate how they get these significant strike totals. But you sit there at home. If you're sitting there indignant about the idea that they have Amir Albazi winning this close round, and the judge in particular here was Chris Lee. Judges D'Amato and Bell both saw this one for Kara-France. But Chris Lee, if you're sitting there thinking, what the heck is Chris Lee watching in round 4? Go back and watch that round and count the strikes. And in fact, just count the ones you thought were good land. Start there. And I don't think you're going to come up with a giant margin one way or the other. I think I feel good about Kara-France here. I do, like I said.
Mm-hmm. It's the better score.
I think it's the better score. I do. But I also think you can get to Albazi here, which is weird. Usually when you do have such statistical margins, it does have a good indicator of who won the round. But there's, like we're saying, there's not a whole lot of big lands from Kara-France. He's just not able to kind of get that one strike that really pushes it over. And I don't know that a lot of those 27 significant strikes landed very hard or well. Or
at all.
Yeah, maybe not at all. It's hard to say how they get these numbers, right?
Just a weird round to be that upset about. I mean, I get it. The betting community, even though I'll give them credit, they were not that upset as a whole. That from the ones that I follow. Okay. In the betting community, typically they're the worst of the bunch.
Did they win? Did they do well
I don't know.
on this one?
I don't know if
Is
they
that
won.
Why?
I know. I don't know their picks, but that could. But that all right. That's a factor.
That's what I would imagine
that's
has a lot to do with that.
Okay. Because usually they're the worst of the bunch.
Well, yeah, things didn't go their way.
Yeah.
They get pissy, you know.
So all right.
But no, I just this doesn't seem like the fight that people should be dying on the hill on. I think.
Didn't you say you saw someone said this is the worst robbery?
No. No one said this was the worst robbery. I think they were saying.
Oh, that was another Arlovsky and Collier was the worst robbery.
Yes, I saw that.
That's
was
what you said. Okay.
And for goodness sakes, let's have a memory that's a little older than 2 years.
I had it for Arlovsky. I remember that fight.
I remember that too.
Yeah.
I also don't think it's crazy. I don't remember what I had. I actually don't remember my score. But I also remember distinctly thinking, why do we care this much about this particular fight? And not just because it was a heavyweight fight on the or I don't know if it was the prelims, but on a let's call it a throwaway card.
Which this card was also.
Yeah,
the throwaway card.
This was a throwaway card. Having said that, this was a fight I was looking forward to. And I think a lot of people were actually
this was
interested in
the one fight minus the Jim Miller mauling.
And the significance of the fight has nothing to do with whether it's a biggest robbery or not. I would say the biggest robbery in the UFC of the last 10 years, and possibly the only true robbery that I can really come up with in 10 years, is Ross Pearson not getting the nod against Diego Sanchez. That fight means nothing. It meant something, I guess, at the time, but not distinctly. It's not like either one of them was on the cusp of title contention for this fight. But it's not the significance of the fight. It's the degree to which you can make an argument for enough rounds to get a win for the fighter who got the win. Can you give the fighter in a 3-round fight 2 rounds and make a compelling case? If you could do that, it's not a robbery. If you can't, I call it a robbery.
Yeah, if you have also your explanation has to be in line with the criteria.
Yes, of course, absolutely.
So
you need to make sound. That should be implied, but thank you for saying it anyway.
Yeah.
Read the criteria like we said at the top of the show.
All right. I think we hammered that one.
The only thing I would say, though, the only thing I would add is because this is Chris Lee, and because Chris Lee has been embroiled in some of these, especially in main event decisions before, he tends to end up being a punching bag too. I mean, same thing happens with Sal D'Amato, like we said. Sal is on like 1 in 3 fights. It's ridiculous how many times he is on a fight. So like you're gonna hear his name a billion times. Of course, you're going to start associating because you just hear that name. Chris Lee does not work nearly as many as Sal does because no one really does, but Chris Lee is still one of the most active judges in MMA. He does get a lot of main event decisions. And I will say, as much as I think Chris Lee is a terrific high-level judge who should still be judging fights in modern MMA, absolutely, 100%, it's like 2 or 3 times a year, maybe probably more like 1 or 2 even, that Chris Lee will turn in a scorecard and you and I even will be scratching our heads like, what was going on here? It does happen. It's not a problem that's going away. I don't think it happened here, but it does underscore a point that we do see with Chris Lee from time to time, is that he will turn in these scores. It's like, what was going on there? And most of the time we think he's great. Like I said, I think he was he your judge of the year last year?
I gave it to him.
That's right. You did.
He had a low.
I disagreed.
He had a low descent.
He did, but it's
So
more
I
than
gave
that,
it to him.
So I didn't. I remember distinctly what happened in the Josh Emmett fight and when he got the win over Calvin Kattar.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
Or I overlooked that one.
I think you did. I think you gave him a pass, and I didn't. I specifically did not. I'm gonna stress it again. I think Chris Lee is a good judge and should still be judging, but also the sheer prevalence of the fact that these things do happen. It kind of reminds me of that. It would be more preferable to me if maybe Chris Lee was not on as many main event assignments and that it was left to some other judges who have less consistency of turning in these kind of head scratcher scores from time to time, right?
Well, yeah, you had Ron McCarthy on that was working.
Ron McCarthy has done a bunch of main events. I would love to see. I mean,
yeah, Derek Cleary was also there.
Absolutely. He wasn't here on this one, but Eric Colon has worked main events. He's someone who I think should be getting assignments. Of course, when they do bring over Ben Cartledge now, who is now a Nevada-based, technically an England-based judge, but a Nevada licensed judge. That's the word I'm looking for. Licensed. When he comes over, he could do main events too. He didn't this time. He was not over on this side of the pond, as far as I know. There are a lot of options. I would probably feel more comfortable if Chris Lee was utilized less in main events. But again, it's not really because of this fight. It really isn't. But it's a conversation that I think people are having who are a little more aware of this kind of thing.
Yeah, the one that stands out is Felder and RDA.
That one, obviously, really, that was the eyesore and that kind of thing.
I don't really recall the Josh Emmett one.
Oh, I distinctly
Calvin
remember that one.
I don't really remember that fight too.
Nah, that was a bigger deal. We talked about that one.
I know.
We talk about all of these, so they can go by and that kind of thing. But yeah, that was a bigger deal too. It's not like it was a robbery because I remember what it was. You can give 3 rounds. We knew we could give 3 rounds reasonably to Josh Emmett. It was not a robbery because of it. But round 4 going to him was not good.
Okay.
Sort of like what we talk about and you'll remember this fight. I think probably even more. Figueiredo Moreno #1.
Yeah.
being the case
Yeah.
where
Round
round 5 should not have gone to Brandon Moreno in any way.
Mm-hmm.
And yet Junichiro Kamijo, who is one of the best judges in mixed martial arts and also should be doing main events, but he just did not work this event.
Yeah.
He gave that round to Moreno. Bad score, great judge. These things happen.
You can have off.
These things happen in
performances.
MMA.
I mean, why are they expected to be absolutely perfect? But a fighter can have an off night. He just had an off night. You know, why shouldn't hate him?
Well,
now.
they hold the fighter's livelihood in their hands. They are the ones who.
Oh, they made their contract.
They're the ones who can prevent them from getting their win bonus. Yes, absolutely.
Right? Yeah, they made the contract.
That's right.
And the pay structure.
You got it.
The judges were in the room for that,
Nailed
and they
it.
specifically demanded that.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. I
Yes.
forgot about that.
Yes, absolutely. That's one of the key things that I think people need to remember is that it's not the judges have so little say in everything that's going on in the world, and they're not doing anything out of revenge or spite or to exercise some sort of power over a little fiefdom or something like that. Fiefdom. I was gonna set that up.
I don't
But-
even know what that means. Fiefdom.
Every week, I think it's fiefdom. Every week, I'm teaching you something. Well, I don't. I didn't teach you this one.
I've
I just
never
said it.
used any of the words you say ever, except when I question it. That's the only time it ever comes out of my mouth.
I'm sorry. I was going somewhere with that.
Someone would have.
But the point is these judges really don't have a lot of control over anything, and they're not trying to be powerful over other people. They're just doing their jobs as best they can. I think they care about their jobs distinctly.
They love the sport more than anybody else.
They're like it's much easier to call them like MMA nerds, the most of the ones that we've interacted with, than to call them disinterested or to call them petty or anything like that. I think they just want to do the right job. I think they're all hoping to get through every event without drama like this so that they don't have to go home and hear that their loved ones have had their lives threatened.
I know, it's insane.
It is insane.
You're sorry your $20 parlay didn't hit because their fighter kept it close.
For real. But yeah, that was really the last thing I kind of had to say about this particular fight. So we can move on to the other alternative decision of the evening, and this one did not come with the accompanying outrage, because I think what happened was we still got the fighter that the large majority of people thought should have won, got the win. So everyone kind of just let it slide, and we just move on. It was a split decision victory for Eliseu Zaleski dos Santos, who I've seen called anything from Eliseu Zaleski to Eliseu dos Santos to Eliseu Zaleski dos Santos. No one can make up their mind what to call this guy. So I'm just going to go with Easy DS.
Easy DS.
Easy DS. It's a lot easier. I've seen it before, too. This isn't me originating it. But he got the win over Abubakar Nurmagomedov.
The two longest names.
Yeah, this is like a syllable fest over here. But it was all 29-28 each way, 2 for Easy DS, of course.
I was trying to count all the unique letters in each name combined. I lost track.
You can do that later. Yeah, it's a lot of them. I understand. These are longer than the words I'm using.
Yeah, I know that. Hereforth, Nurmagomedov is known as Nurmi.
Nurmi, that's fair.
For me.
Easy DS and Nurmi?
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's fine. But we have rounds 1 and 2 are split. And in both cases, just to lift the lid on it, we already called this an alternative decision. Nurmagomedov won the round on 2 of 3 scorecards in each case. But because EZDS won round 3 unanimously, and the judges had different rounds and each judge had different rounds, it worked out where EZDS still got the win, even though 2 out of 3 rounds went to Nurmagomedov. That's your alternative decision. Let's go into round 1 first.
Do you ever add up all the scores together individually to see what number comes out higher? Does it still come out higher?
What's your question? I don't really
For an
understand.
alternative decision, add each individual round score for each fighter and who comes out ahead in that situation.
It ends up being, in this case, it would be 5-4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like you have if you're assigned a point to each time a judge gave you, like, is that what you're kind of talking about?
Yeah, but I was at the exact number, like 10. You get 10 twice and then 9 once, so 29 for this round.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. But it's the same thing.
It would be the same.
It still works that way.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's essentially comes out to 5 rounds to 4.
Okay.
You know, if you were just to give a point to each time a judge gave them the round,
gotcha.
it would be 5-4 in favor of the winning fighter, as opposed to the
Things would get hairy if there was an 8 involved somewhere.
Well, yes,
with an 8 split.
That I don't know if you can have alternative decisions with 8s, but we're belaboring the point. Let's get into round 1.
Oh, I was interested.
I know.
Nurmi cracks Dos Santos with 2 good shots early, wobbles him, and then he presses him against the cage. And they spend a whole lot of time here.
Whole lot of knees too.
Easy DS is throwing some knees to the body. Nurmi's throwing some knees to the legs. I don't think either one is landing particularly that strong. They separate. Easy DS gets a lot more aggressive, throwing a lot of kicks, but I think he's missing most of them or landing on the hand, inside the forearm, on the glove. He does land a nice body kick. That was pretty flush. Outside of that, I don't think he landed much of anything else that was clean. And with Nurmi's offense early, where he actually did have Easy DS hurt, I don't think anything he did surpassed it. So 10-9 Nurmagomedov.
I also have Nurmagomedov getting the round here, but this is close. This is. I
suppose
fine.
he fights back to make it close. Sure. Maybe Ron McCarthy has a different angle where he's seeing these kicks land.
Sure.
I didn't think they landed on any target that would end a fight or be considered a land. But
sure. So would you say you just feel good about your score?
Yeah, I feel good about it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I feel good about mine, but also I see it close enough, and I just don't think there's an extreme amount of real action happening in this round either.
It was not a great round.
Yeah. So that, and again, anytime you have a round like that, sometimes you can count it on your hands, and in theory it sounds easier, but it makes it very challenging because no one's taking the round.
Mm-hmm.
That's always tough. But again, we sided in the majority, you and I did, with Nurmagomedov. We saw it the same way as judges Brian Miner and Derek Cleary. It was, like you said, Ron McCarthy who had it for Easy DS. Round 2.
Similar to round 1, I just think at distance, Easy DS is landing some good leg kicks, couple good shots to the head. And I thought his knees were actually stronger in this round in the clinch. I thought he did really well in the clinch in this round. And the difference for me is Nurmagomedov didn't have that early offense that he had in round 1 where he rocks Easy DS. It didn't happen this time, and I think that's why I go Dos Santos. So 10-9 Dos Santos.
I also have Easy DS here. Again, this is another round I also don't feel that strongly about. I just don't think we're getting... This is a common thing in Zaleski Dos Santos fights. And I said this to you before. Every fight involving Eliseo Zaleski Dos Santos feels like you're going to get 30 to 40 strikes landed by either guy, and then you have to decide, okay, over the course of 15 minutes, which of them actually ended up landing a little bit better than the other. Yeah, in theory, one of them might have the numbers, but also, is anyone landing bigger than the other? I don't know. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. I don't know if it's his capoeira style or what that's kind of making his fights play out in the way they do, but this happens all the time with Easy DS.
He's fight dancing?
Yeah.
That's what he's doing?
I'm not as knowledgeable. I'm not knowledgeable enough on capoeira to really
me neither, but it looks cool.
But at the same time, I used to hear this anyway, and a lot of this could just be conjecture. So I'll take it with a grain of salt. But I used to hear that it was just dance fighting. It wasn't like real martial arts or something like that. But then you hear during broadcasts, people will talk about capoeira like as if it was a regular martial art. So I try to take it as seriously as the commentators do, because I'm just not very knowledgeable on capoeira in particular.
I think when The Rock was in that movie with Stifler.
Oh, was that The Rundown?
I think it's The Rundown, and I think he gets...
Do they also call that Welcome to the Jungle or something?
Possibly.
I think they have... That's one of those movies that has, alternate name.
Like, they were, in Brazil, and they ran into, a group of capoeira fighters.
Yeah.
And it didn't go well for him early.
For who?
For The Rock.
Oh, okay. Well, they had to learn how to dance, probably.
Yeah.
But anyway, neither here nor there. It's just one of those things that's kind of annoying about Easy DS fights. But yeah, I had this round for him. I'm just not that worked up about it.
I thought his clinch was good. He was the knees. He had the Muay Thai clinch around the head, driving the knee up. I mean, weren't the strongest, but I thought they're pretty good.
Yeah.
So,
but we did side in the minority here with Judge Brian Miner. It was Judges McCarthy and Cleary who had it for Nurmagomedov. But what does that mean for Judge Miner?
Couchside override. Bam.
I added a little extra at the end of that one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I found the extra gear. Kept it going just a little longer.
What a great time to be in Vegas, though.
Why?
World Series of Poker just started.
Oh.
It's like, it's the time to go.
Stanley Cup's going on there, too.
Yeah, it's just...
I'm not a hockey guy, but that is something.
You know what? That's probably why they had this event at the Apex and not at T-Mobile Arena.
No, that's exactly
Because-
why.
Because
You nailed it.
Because the Golden Knights were playing their hockey game.
It has nothing to do with the fact that it's super cheap for them to put on fights at the Apex all the time now, especially because they don't have to pay, some of their higher level talents to fight on these cards very often.
I have such ideas to make UFC better.
Well, you can keep them to yourself because they don't care.
They don't care.
No,
But
they're doing what they're doing. Endeavor's going to make the money however they're going to make it, and you can SDFU.
Yeah. I hate them
I'm sorry.
for what they do to me. Making me watch fight cards with fighters, or fights just don't matter.
Is this a situation like the trailer for Brokeback Mountain? Why can't I quit you or whatever they said? You wish you could.
I have
quit
no
them.
idea. I don't know.
You don't remember that movie?
No.
That's the one with the.
I remember the movie.
gay
I don't
cowboys,
remember.
yeah.
I don't remember the trailer.
Wow. I just remember there being a line. I actually watched the movie. It's not a bad movie, to be honest. But in the trailer, it was like, I can't quit you or something like that. And
No.
The idea being that, it sucks that this is going on, but why can't I get away? That's what it sounds like with you in the UFC right now.
I just want a rooting interest in most of the fights. Like back in the day, like I was into every single fight. Now it's like I don't care who wins this fight.
Well, I'll tell you.
Like let's get it over with and get someone I care about out there.
Well, I think it's a multi-pronged thing. I think number one, back then you were more new to the sport. You were more excited by it.
The roster
That
was
number one.
a quarter of the
It was
size.
a quarter of the size. They had typically not so many regional quality talents on there that they would sign probably earlier than would typically be done. The cards were, anywhere from 10 to 12 fights max. Now they're like 13, 14 very frequently. Not that this was, but the pay-per-views especially now are being, I think, over hyper scheduled.
Every team in a major sport has a roster maximum, and then they have a practice squad.
Mm-hmm.
Every division, the government said, listen, if you own a promotion, you can have 25 fighters per division.
Yeah.
And then that's it. I think it would boost competition between promotions.
Mm-hmm.
It would make everything a lot better.
Which government is getting involved in this one? The United States
I
government?
don't care what government. Whatever governing body, it could be the commission or
Like the state commissions?
no, and I don't know. One of them, someone come in to say, hey, listen,
I'm just poking holes in everything.
25 max. I don't care who
Yeah.
who says it. 25 max per division. That's what you get.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Never gonna happen.
I know you can. What they're doing, they're just signing every random talent, hoping that they can just, maybe they'll get something out of this. Maybe they'll turn into the next, big star.
I don't even know that that's what it is.
That's what they're doing. Why do you think Dana White? He's giving out 10 contracts.
Yeah, but they're signing
on-
names that are clearly not going to do that.
Maybe everyone needs jobbers, enhancement talent.
Are you calling some of the people on the roster Gilbert?
Gilbert, Barry Horowitz, SD Jones,
I don't know who that one is.
bunch of them.
I had the other two. All right, we should move on. We got 3 more rounds to get through, my friend here. We'll start with Tim Elliott. These ones are let's say less pivotal to the result, right? Tim Elliott got the win over Victor Altamirano. Unanimous decision, 2 30-27s and a 29-28. We're only talking about it because round 2 was split, so let's talk about it.
Which round was this? Which
round
fight?
2.
Which-
Elliott and Altamirano.
I was searching for it. Sorry.
I was saying, did you take
Yeah.
a nap or that's okay.
Yeah, I got it. To open the round, Altamirano lands a nice combo, and then is quickly taken down by Elliott. Lands a few punches from the top here, like hammer fists. Then he starts grinding his elbow into his forehead. They work their way back to the feet. Altamirano lands a good head kick, gets on top, but it's quickly back to the feet where Elliott lands a solid, strong clubbing left is what they called it. But it was a good shot. Elliott,
You know what? I was thinking clubbing left even before they said that out loud. So like,
That's kind of what it was.
Yeah, it was.
So-
He used his hand like a club, and
Mhm.
and then it landed. Clubbing left.
He takes him back down to the ground, lands some ground and pound as the round ends. Altamirano had the higher spots in the round, I think, but there was only like 2 of them for a total of like 17 seconds of the round. The rest of the round was spent, getting grinded into the ground. So I like 10-9 Elliott.
I do too. I didn't even score Altamirano's high points, probably even as high as you did.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest, I almost felt like this was a more. I felt more strongly for Elliott getting this round over Altamirano than I did for Carafrance or Albazi getting the round over Carafrance in that case. And both times it was Judge Chris Lee here, so that's the only reason I'm kind of linking the two. Having said that, I even still understand how you would get Altamirano here. It's not crazy, but it also One had no impact on the
It meant
actual
nothing.
results.
It meant nothing.
Really didn't. I mean, not that Chris Lee knows that. He has his tied at this point. So going into it, not knowing how the other scores are, it does make this be a pivotal round. But all rounds get, they all have the merit anyway. I saw it for Elliott. I think he got the round, just like you, just like judges Ron McCarthy and Derek Cleary.
Talk about zero takedown defense. Like, Elliott breathed on him and he went down. It wasn't a great fight.
I mean, I think Elliott looked good.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, you know what he was going to do.
Yeah.
That's every Elliott fight. It's usually exciting, and that's why you need to pair him up with Brandon Royval. So then they make magic.
Well, you pair anybody up with Brandon Royval, it's almost always going to turn out to be fun, generally speaking. And by the way, we didn't really talk about the context of Amir Albazi getting the win here at flyweight in a pivotal fight. It was definitely meaningful for the hierarchy of the 125-pound division, but I think you and I would both, I know you do, but I would agree as well. Brandon Royval still absolutely has the inside track to the next title shot once Moreno and Pantoja clear this up.
Yeah, well, they were talking. They're like, I don't know about if Albazi could beat Moreno or even Pantoja.
I mean, who knows? I don't even want to project like that. But just I don't think he earned it with this.
Well,
I know Car France obviously is a let's say probably a more established name. He's got some name recognition. He's fought for the interim title anyway before. He's known internationally. They like to feature him, and he's friends with some of these other champions coming out of City Kickboxing. But having said that, I think most people would agree that Brandon Royval is a more interesting fighter to watch.
Belt for Royval.
Belt for Royval. And also, there's, of course, the stink of everybody going bonkers that Albazi shouldn't have gotten the win or whatever, So there's that too.
Do we know what Dana said? I know you
I did
got
not
some notes about
I kind
Connor.
of peeked into a little bit of what was being talked about in the conference, but you and I were focused on trying to plan the show, so I didn't see everything. And every time I dive into the Dana White press conference thing from far, apparently I get into big media tiffs. So I'm sitting out. I'm going to sit it out a little bit.
You know what I do? You know what I do like? I like when he disagrees with the general public.
You like when he disagrees?
I like when he disagrees with
in terms of what?
In terms of things like this, when he thinks, well, it was a close fight. I mean, no one put a stamp on it. If that was his take, while the rest of the world is losing their minds over it, that was the clearest robbery of all time.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I like that because
I didn't even see. Did you see what he said about this?
I don't know what he said.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying if that was his take, saying a close round or a close fight. Super close. I mean, you can't leave it in the hands of judges.
I mean, that's just what he'll say.
If that's what he says, while everyone else is saying, no, this is a clear robbery. Now their golden boy hero is going against them. I like when they're kind of like twisted up like that.
If you offered him $100, do you think he could name the actual scoring criteria?
He'll just say damage.
Yeah, well, that's not that. I mean, that won't earn the $100.
They've all been trained to say that.
Yeah,
I like the guy that you got into it with.
Who's that?
Who referenced Dom Cruz?
Oh, you're talking
as his
I don't
defense.
want to dwell on that. Yeah, at some point I gave up. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to convince you. So we're just going to move on from this, and we should move on from this fight too, because we got 2 more rounds to get to, and then we can kind of wrap up looking ahead.
Where are we
going?
going?
Kind of thing. We're going to go to Philippe Lins getting the win over Maxim Grishin in the curtain jerker, 30-27 and 229-28. It was round 3. That's our split. We already knew who was going to win. Well, we would have if, there was open scoring. But this is a round that just doesn't mean a whole lot. But let's get into it anyway. What happens in round 3?
They come out swinging heavy early. I'm like, all right, good. Yeah, let's end this already.
Atypical of a Maxim Grishin. Yeah, there you go.
They're swinging heavy. I do think Grishin does get the best of it. And then Lins landed in that sequence too. But like I said, I think Grishin got the best of it there.
I do too, absolutely. I think that's pretty clear.
Lins able to clinch and pushes him against the cage, and that's what they do most of the round.
That's a Maxim Grishin.
You got Grisham. He's hitting with these little pot shots against the cage. Nothing really big from this. When they do separate briefly, when they have another fun exchange, and I think Grishin landed more impactfully here. He lands that really nice elbow. I just felt like Lins really had no intentions of doing anything except run out the clock in this round. He probably feels or knows he's ahead.
That might be right. No,
we're
not evaluating his
I know,
motivation,
I know,
just his actions and the results of his actions.
He's kneeling the ball.
Prevent defense.
Yeah, except when they actually get separated, and he's like, "Oh, I got better swing."
It's not the most fun way to fight, but
I mean, they had like 5-second bursts of funness out of 5 minutes. So I think it's Christian's round.
long story short, Grisham round. I agree.
Hmm.
Can you give it to Linz?
I do think so.
Okay. Yeah, I'm okay with it. I had Bell and Cleary, but yeah, this is another round where, or no, you had Bell and Cleary. We agreed with judges Bell and Cleary is what I should have said. As it's getting late, we record these at like ungodly hours.
When it's Saturday, yeah, it's usually.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's not much better on Sundays. But...
No, it's typically not. But it was actually Judge Adelaide Bird who had this one for Linz. I still don't think it's that bad a score. I think we can move on to our final
I think
round.
the worst part of it is that we had to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That just wasn't unanimous. We had to relive
not the
it.
type of fight that we want to revisit in any meaningful way whatsoever. I said this. I said this to you. And I said this on Twitter that I tuned into this particular fight about 90 seconds late. So I had it on. I wasn't really watching, but then I looked up finally, and what was happening? Lo and behold, it was Maxim Grishin pinning Philippe Linz against the cage, which is the default picture that I have for Maxim Grishin in my head of how he fights. Just pinning someone against the cage and not actually attacking. He's not my favorite fighter. But he didn't get the win anyway. Philippe Linz gets the win. He gets a little more momentum, and maybe that means he's at least more interesting to watch fight.
Yeah.
I think he's got a better style. It's a more fun style. So let's look at our final one. Let's wrap up contested rounds here. Dontel Mays got the win over Andrei Arlovsky with a round 2 TKO, which you put in parentheses as the cause of the TKO. He punched him.
Yes.
Very apt explanation.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. But round 1 before this finish, it was split. Now, at least Dontel Mays didn't make it go to round 3, but heavyweights are supposed to end in round 1. They did kind of fail there. I'm a little disappointed, but all right, let's talk about round.
If he had 5:05, that's all he needed. He would have won. He needed 5 seconds more.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, let's talk about round 1.
Arlovsky lands right out the gate. He lands 2 strong shots. You hear him throughout the apex. That's probably the funnest part about the apex. You hear the sound.
I do like that. That's one of the things I like the most.
Not to sidetrack too far, ABC had the microphone way too high for their most recent event.
I think they did that on purpose.
And it sounded horrible. It was driving me nuts.
I think it was to avoid the hot mics catching curses.
Oh, okay.
That would be my guess.
Okay. I didn't like it.
I'm just guessing, but I think it makes sense.
Okay. Anyway, back to the fight. Mace is kind of just moving around, not really doing a lot of fighting early in the round. I think it's a pretty low output. I think Arlovsky is winning much of the round until the end, where Mays lands a solid Superman punch and a couple elbows that has Arlovsky wobbled. And like I said, he needed just a little bit more than 5 minutes to get him out.
And he couldn't.
And
you can't score that.
You don't score that, but I'm just saying.
5 minutes wraps, that's the end.
He was dead. 10-9 Mays for me.
Well, he got deaded in the next round because he punched him. I actually still stuck with Andrei Arlovsky here. I felt like the lead that Arlovsky had built didn't quite get erased by what happened in the end. I didn't think because he couldn't get to that level that you're talking about if he had more time. I think with the more time, it's easy, but I didn't quite go there. I sided with Ron McCarthy. You sided with judges Brian Miner and Derek Cleary.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the typical, just how do you handle that particular element of this round, right? Yeah. Which can be a very tough thing. It's highly subjective. We know everyone knows what they're talking about. So really, we're just debating about the value of that particular thing versus the value of everything else that Andrei Arlovsky more or less had done in that round before that, right? It's tricky. In theory, you're supposed to give the immediate more weight, but how much more weight, right?
Yeah. But, I mean, he whacked him good.
He whacked him good.
Like that. Yeah. You don't see Superman punch too much.
No.
People would go crazy for that technique.
Well, when GSP used to do it all the time,
Bring it back.
That was my favorite thing to spam in UFC Undisputed.
We hold R1 and press triangle?
I don't remember the button inputs, but I definitely I used a lot of Superman punches. Now, some people had the crummy Superman punch, right? It was kind of like a little short one as opposed to the GSP one that covered a lot of ground and was like a real Superman punch. Yeah, I distinctly remember there were 2 different animations. GSP's was much.
Yeah.
But that is it as far as contested rounds. We, of course, gotta love our finishes. We did 5 finishes in this. We had a lot of rounds happen, of course, over the course of the event. But yeah, 5 finishes. 4 of them by TKO, 1 by sub. 2 fights ended in the first round. And, I don't think it would take a genius who's listened to our show to know which of those finishes was your favorite. But why don't you just identify it anyway?
Jim Miller knocked out one of the best fighters on this card in Jesse Butler.
Don't be disrespectful.
I'm not being disrespectful. Jim's win was the most impressive win on this card. He would have beat Islam tonight, no doubt about it.
I think everybody came away thinking that. Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful.
He would have done it while holding a Taylor ham, egg, and cheese sandwich in his hand.
Beautiful left hand, slip, rip, one for good measure to make sure he's out.
Mm-hmm.
Tandan steps in, says, it's over, Jim. You got him. He's like, I got him.
I think there was Jersey collusion there. I think Tandan helped him.
I guess. I mean, you turn this guy's lights off.
That's obviously what happened.
This guy, he's got 8 submission wins.
Mm-hmm.
And a TKO win. He's a good fighter. And Jim walked right through him.
All right. Well, now that we're done with that PR stunt, yeah, I mean, look, Jim Miller looked fantastic. Like you pointed out, he extended his UFC records for both fights and victories, and now he's how many TKOs or KOs does he have in his record now? Actually, do you have that,
Jim?
He finished this. By the way, he finished this in 21 seconds. That was wild. That it was the quickest fight of I believe his whole career.
He could fight next week. Put him on the card next week.
He probably could. He probably would.
Well, let's do it.
Even at his age,
he said that's what he said. He wants to fight as much as he can. The way he started his career,
he should
making up for lost time.
I mean, that obviously he lost a lot of time because he was dealing with Lyme disease and all that kind of thing. But he was still fighting through it. I mean, it's wild.
How many KOs he has? He has 5 KOs and 7 KOs.
7 KOs.
7, and 43% of them happened in the last year, according to Sean Sheehan.
Yeah, that sounds right. It is wild how Jim Miller has found his power stroke, and he's not getting knocked out. Like he's fighters who've been around the game this long, they start to get a little chinny often, and that's not really happening with Jim Miller. When's the last time he even got knocked out?
Did he get knocked out or did he damage the guy's shin?
See, you're doing the we're at a bar in 1994. I'm gonna try and think as hard as I can, and I'm gonna use
Donald Cerrone.
Google.
Donald Cerrone head kick.
That's a long time ago. Are we thinking that's the last time that happened?
That's what it looks like to me.
Dan Hooker knocked him out with a knee. That was about 5 years ago.
Dan Hooker was never the same after that knee.
Yeah, he was better.
Was he?
Yes, he went out and had some good fights. He beat Paul Felder. That was a good fight.
That was a close fight, though.
Yeah, but it was a good fight.
That was close and good.
Fight. He had a good fight with Dustin Poirier.
Oh, he actually beat Gilbert Burns after that. The power that he got from kneeing Jim Miller in the head to beat Gilbert Burns.
I love the twist.
Is tremendous.
But that's actually he's only been knocked out 2 times in the last 10 years. That is quite a thing, and those are the only 2 knockouts on his record. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's eating punches in that time, but he's not getting chinny. So that's good to see.
Well, he ate quite a few against Alexander Hernandez.
Yeah, he did.
He took a little.
He did.
There,
that's true. But he kept going.
He did,
and he's still here.
He almost won. He almost choked him out. He has 19 subs. He needs 1 more for 20.
That's how it works.
And he wants a Kimura.
19 plus 1 is 20.
He wants a Kimura.
I heard him talking about that. Because that used to be his move in the gym. He said,
like, I would just train if I was going to fight him. If I was Islam, just train Kimura defense.
So if you were going to fight him, wouldn't you just be like, I'm done. I've been beaten. Also, the last time he fought, didn't you just have him? He just punched you.
I know, but he wasn't looking for Kimura then.
Oh, that's true.
If I knew he was looking for Kimura, I would just train Kimura defense.
Do you want to know what my favorite finish was? By the way, 23 seconds officially.
Oh, 23.
23, yeah. My favorite finish was watching, unfortunately, Ketlin Souza's knee get exploded
on an ankle lock. Really?
They called it an Achilles lock.
They called it an Achilles. I mean, yeah, I guess because the way he twisted it, but
yeah. But yeah, Karine Silva getting the win there in just dire fashion for Souza here. She had to be helped out of the cage a little bit. That was rough. You hate to see that. Her knee is definitely in a bad way. So, but having said that, it's still a fantastic finish on the part of Karine Silva. And I don't think she didn't like reap the knee in like a way that she shouldn't have been doing. Like everything went down as fast as it could, and it's just the way it happened, right?
Oh no, knee reaping is allowed. Knee reaping being illegal in jiu-jitsu tournaments is just stupid. You should be allowed to do that.
But my point, I guess,
I'm saying
I'm probably using the wrong term. What I'm really trying to say is that she didn't hold on to it. Let's say like Paul Harris version.
Okay.
You know, it wasn't like that.
She let go.
Yeah, no. Everything was done on the up and up. It just unfortunately went that way, and that was the end. But that was my favorite.
And then the commentary team is losing their minds over it, and then they're like, yeah, let's see it in slow motion from every angle possible.
And everyone's just sitting there at home, just crying and wincing and holding their own knee and hoping that it doesn't explode by watching it.
I'm surprised more fighters don't sit back for legs like that from inside the guard.
I don't think many fighters are comfortable doing it. And a lot of them are super sloppy because you'll see them go for it and everything just completely slips off and then they're very prone. So I think that's a lot of it. They know they're too sloppy.
Yeah, well, tighten it up.
Well, yeah, that would be fair too. Do we have the judging report, by the way? I don't think we touched upon that.
We do.
The unanimous rounds.
Yeah, 22 of 29 rounds were unanimous. No 10-8s or 10-8 watches.
No 10-8-9 splits
in this one for a 75.8% unanimous
percentage.
Unanimity.
Unanimity. I like that. Yeah. That's
I do think
that's just above average for those who don't know. That's like a little bit above average. 72, 73 is kind of the average.
There was a round I thought was a pretty clear 10-8, but we won't get into that.
No, we won't, because you don't want to add work.
It's true.
That was what you said.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to point out, Alex Caceres got a 10-8 in round 3.
No, we're not going to point that out because Dan's too lazy to talk about that. So
we're
going to move on to next week.
Pointing it out.
Nope. Moving on to next week. UFC 289, and actually, I mean, this week we're back with the pay-per-view. It's back in Canada, UFC, for the first time since pre-pandemic. British Columbia here in particular, Vancouver, which I'm going to visit this summer for a couple days, actually.
Okay.
We're going to Seattle for the big part of the trip, and then we'll also go to Vancouver a little bit.
Nice.
I was told that Science World is the place to go, especially with kids.
Sounds like it's the bee's knees.
It looks cool. It actually does. It kind of reminds me of Liberty Science Center, which is the local New Jersey science place. For those who don't know, Dan hopefully knows. You've been there, right? You must have taken a school trip there.
To Liberty Science
Yeah.
Center? Yeah.
My prom was there.
You know what? That makes sense why they now do like adult parties or like dance parties.
They do, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of wild.
So
that's neither here nor there. We got to talk about the headlining fight here of a card that is like falling apart at the seams. Like they're losing fights left and right. If we could probably highlight more fights we wanted to see that we're not going to get than the ones we actually want to see. But I am interested enough in this main event with Amanda Nunes defending her 35-pound title against Irene Aldana, because we were originally going to have the trilogy fight with her and Juliana Pena, and I'm glad that's not happening next because
it wasn't needed.
I didn't think
right away.
Yeah, not right away. If you want to put Pena in another fight where she's got to beat someone to get that shot, I'm good with it. That would be fine. I have no problem with that, but I don't think just because we have a split here that we have to immediately decide the winner. Because the UFC doesn't seem to think they need to do that with a much more interesting and deserving fight, which is Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira. They don't want to do that.
Well, Pereira doesn't want to stay around.
I'm pretty sure if they said, "Hey, you can fight for the title again," he would fight for the title again. You telling me he wouldn't? You telling me he doesn't want that one back?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll do it.
I would absolutely believe that. But anyway, I like this fight better. I don't necessarily know what chances I would give Irene Aldana to win it or not.
Hey, she got that up kick to the body. That was pretty sick.
The only thing I will say is that, yes, to the liver, right? It was like an up kick to the liver. That was one of my favorite knockouts last year. That was wild. But Mexican fighters are on fire right now, and it's often happening when we count them out, as was the case with her countrywoman, Alexa Grasso, who is now the women's featherweight champion, or flyweight champion, excuse me.
Are they all training out of the same gym?
No, I don't believe so.
No, she's not a teammate of Moreno and Grasso?
No. Well, Moreno trains in the United States anyway.
Right, yeah, well, he moved there now.
Yeah, he's been all over the place now because he was with the James Krause crew that collapsed too. So I believe he's now with Safe Saud.
Okay,
if I'm not mistaken. But
I'm saying, I thought Alexa Grasso was part of his camp.
I didn't think so. I'm not always the best at keeping track of which camps everybody is at. It's just one of those blind spots that I don't track as deeply as I should, unless like I'm actually dealing with the fight, like interviewing the fighter or something. But again, I'm just happy that this is the matchup. I think this is the one that makes the most sense competitively for Amanda Nunes at this point.
Yeah,
if it's not going to be, which I was saying for a while, Valentina Shevchenko, but now Shevchenko doesn't even have as much juice behind her because she doesn't have the belt. So it's a less attractive fight now, right? This fight, of course, being in British Columbia, as I mentioned before, we can highlight maybe some of the judges that we've seen in the past in British Columbia. The last time they were there was September 2019.
Ages ago.
There will be some, local judges there. David Terrian is the one whose name I often see the most, but very likely we're still going to get some of those high-level traveling judges that we see. Sal D'Amato, Mike Bell, Derek Cleary, these are names that we've had in Vancouver before. We certainly could again. It wouldn't surprise. So, I think I'm not too worried about the judging this weekend. I think we'll have solid judging. Famous last words.
Depends who you ask.
That's true. That's true. That is true. What other fights you want to watch?
Co-main Charles Oliveira versus Beneil Dariush.
Which would have been in Jersey, but it got
should have been in
by
Jersey.
The injury, yeah.
Should have been. I mean, how many times is Beneil Dariush going to have to prove himself?
7 more.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, he probably won't. If he beats Charles, he's probably not even going to be next in line, which is kind of sad.
I actually think he will be.
You think so?
I do think this is the one that's going to put him over,
let's
unless
hope.
Conor decides he wants to fight for 55
Exactly.
title.
I mean, yeah, and whatever.
Off of a win over USADA. Anything else? Because obviously that's the obvious choice, right?
Yeah, Dan Ige and Nate Landwehr.
Oh yeah, Nate Landwehr is a crazy man. He's always fun to watch. I think he'll bring out the best in Dan Ige too. I like that one at 45. I don't care that much about most of these other fights. I just don't. We lost some good ones. Look, they'll be fine. Like I don't think it's gonna be a bad card.
Mike Mallet and Adam Fuggett should be.
I believe it's Fugit.
That's not it. That's not. It's Adam Fuggett, and I think that should be a pretty wild fight actually. So
Like, if you're asking me to, if you're going to make me pick another fight that I'm interested in, I would say, I think I don't feel good about any of these.
Miranda Maverick and,
right.
and Jasmine.
No. If I have to pick one, I'll pick Nasruddin Imavov and Chris Curtis. That's my
one.
up against the wall. That's the featured prelim. That's my up against the wall. Another fight that I think would be interesting, but a lot of middleweight fights just don't pan
I
out,
like
so.
Ayman Zahabi.
Ayman Zahabi.
After the way Ricky Tercios fought against him, I was like, he's dead to me. But so now I've become like an Ayman fan because of that.
All right.
So,
fair enough.
I may be just reaching for something here, but
hey, look, we have David Dvorak on here, who's like roughly top 10, top 15 in the world, flyweight, going against Stephen. I don't know this name. This must be a new signee. Stephen Erceg. We'll go with that. That's at least a high level fight. There's something there. So I like that. There's from a sporting aspect, at least there's some meaning there.
Your boy's fighting.
Who's my boy?
Eric Anders. Your boy.
Oh, your boy. That's right. Yes.
So we'll probably talk about that fight.
Yeah, we could also talk about Cobra Kai. He was in that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no, but I think we're probably gonna actually talk about this fight.
Oh well.
Yeah.
From a judging perspective.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, very likely. I think you're not wrong there. Yeah, that's probably if that was of all the fights, that might be the safest bet. Or Diana Babitsa and Maria Oliveira.
Oh wow, we lost Wonder Boy and Michelle Bejeda.
We lost a lot of fights.
Yeah,
we lost a lot of fights. This would have been a much more exciting. It's unfortunate. The people of Canada have been waiting for a card, and this is kind of what they got.
Guys, just fight her, like Chael.
Yeah, just do that.
Yeah,
it's worth your money. That UFC's giving you a good 13% of the pot. Jeez.
All right, that does it. We'll be watching these fights for Scott's birthday.
That's right. We're getting together, you and me, and some buddies.
Should be a great time. Well, then we'll talk about them on Monday. And that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, that sounds good. Hope you guys enjoy them. I hope it works out better than we all expect. And yeah, enjoy the fights, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, thanks for listening.